They weren't roads you could see, no signposts, no maps. And yet, these invisible highways quietly reshaped borders, rewrote trade routes, and even changed the fate of entire nations. You won't find them on Google Maps, but beneath the ground, behind guarded checkpoints and across forbidden lands, these hidden pathways were pulsing with life. Let's step into the shadowy world of underground networks, the tunnels, trails, and secret routes that shaped history without ever making the headlines. For centuries, empires built walls to keep people out. But wherever a wall was raised, humans found a way under, around, or through it. And those who controlled these secret routes often held more power than kings, soldiers, or politicians. One of the earliest examples lies deep within the trade arteries of Central Asia. The Silk Road wasn't just a single highway. It was a vast web of caravan trails stretching from China to the Mediterranean. But alongside the official routes, a shadow network emerged. Smugglers, merchants, and political rebels carved out secret byways through deserts and mountains to bypass taxes, avoid imperial control, and move goods no emperor wanted traded. While emperors argued over borders, these smugglers quietly moved silk, spices, and sometimes people. They controlled prices, information, and alliances, and in many cases, they redrew economic maps long before the rulers realized what was happening. Fast forward to the 19th century. The British Empire dominated global trade. Borders were expanding, ports were booming. But in remote deserts and coastlines, invisible highways were flourishing again. Take the Persian Gulf, for example. British officials tightly controlled pearl and spice trade routes, but smugglers built covert maritime paths, threading through shallow waters and hidden inlets to move goods tax-free. Entire towns thrived on this underground economy. Some historians argue that modern port cities in the Gulf rose not because of official trade, but because of smuggling. Invisible networks built the skeleton of cities that would later become global hubs. But nowhere does the story of hidden routes become more dramatic than in the 20th century, when war, politics, and technology collided underground. Berlin, 1961, a city split in two by the Berlin Wall. One side controlled by the Soviets, the other by the West. Families divided, lives trapped. Above ground, checkpoints and guards made escape nearly impossible. But below the city, a new kind of highway was being built. University students, engineers, and ordinary citizens started digging tunnels beneath the wall. Some were barely wide enough to crawl through. Others had lighting, ventilation, and reinforced walls. These tunnels became arteries of freedom, carrying people from east to west. Over time, more than 70 tunnels were dug, each telling a story of courage and desperation. Some were discovered and sealed, others succeeded. But every single one challenged the idea that borders are fixed lines. They proved that human will can redraw maps in silence. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, another network was evolving, one that blurred the line between trade, migration, and warfare. Along the US-Mexico border, smuggling tunnels began appearing in the late 20th century. At first, they were small, hand-dug passages, crude but effective. Then, as law enforcement increased surveillance, the tunnels became more sophisticated. Cartels began building underground passageways with lighting, rail systems, even ventilation. Some stretched for kilometers, emerging quietly inside warehouses on the American side. Authorities were stunned. These were no longer holes in the ground. They were engineered highways. And while governments built fences, smugglers built networks. What's fascinating is that these tunnels don't just move contraband. They move people, ideas, and power. Every hidden highway has two sides, the one we condemn and the one we often ignore. The unintended influence on society and politics. Take migration, for example. Throughout history, oppressed communities have used secret routes to escape persecution. From the Underground Railroad in the United States, which helped enslaved people find freedom, to the escape routes of refugees during the Balkan conflicts in the 1990s, invisible highways became lifelines. These routes didn't just bypass borders, they reshaped them. Entire communities formed along these paths, influencing culture, language, and identity. But as technology advanced, so did the nature of these networks. Today, Invisible highways aren't just underground, they're digital. Think about encrypted communication channels used by smugglers, activists, or dissidents. Think about darknet marketplaces or VPN routes bypassing censorship. The modern smuggling route might not be a tunnel with dirt walls, but a fiber optic cable carrying information across firewalls and borders. Just like ancient smugglers avoided imperial checkpoints, modern networks avoid digital surveillance. And just like ancient smugglers reshaped economies, modern ones reshape politics, finance, and security. Here's the paradox. Governments spend billions fortifying borders, but history shows that invisible networks almost always adapt faster. Empires rise and fall, walls are built and destroyed. But these quiet highways keep evolving. They don't seek permission, they just exist, like rivers carving through stone. And maybe that's why no one talks about them, because they operate in the spaces between official stories, in the shadows of power. But if we zoom out, a pattern emerges. Invisible highways are often the true authors of geopolitical change. They decide which goods flow where, which communities survive, which ideas spread, and sometimes, which empires fall. Today, as nations face new kinds of threats, from cyber warfare to mass migration, the old dance between walls and tunnels, controls and networks, continues. It's a reminder that history isn't just written in royal decrees or political treaties. It's also written in the hidden paths people carve when official doors are closed. So the next time you look at a map, remember this. The lines you see are only half the story. The real highways, the ones that shaped nations, are the ones you will never find on the map.